on my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away.
So it's such an honor to be speaking to you today. As many of you know, I started being a high school English teacher last year. And so it's just wonderful to be speaking to a group of people who aren't looking at their cell phones or are kind of mad about being here or, you know, trying to eat something surreptitiously. Just having people kind of looking at me while I'm talking is like heaven to me. So thank you. Thank you for coming today. How many of you were here last week for the burning bowl ceremony? Great. Okay, so here's what happened to me. Last week, I wrote down on a piece of paper everything that I wanted to let go of this year, and I said a little prayer, and I burned the thing up, and I felt so good. I felt so cleansed. I felt so released, so wonderful. And then this week, almost every single thing on that list came right up in my face and smacked me. Did anybody have that sort of experience? Yes, yes. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about some kind of practical things that you can do along the path to actually releasing these things. What happens is our intentions bring things up, okay? Now, I want to make clear, I don't believe that the universe is putting things in your path so that you will learn the lessons you want to learn. What I think is that, and this is just my opinion, that the fact that you set an intention puts those things in the front of your consciousness so that those things were there all along, okay? But now you're really noticing them and wanting to make a change, all right? So this isn't magic. That's kind of the good news and the bad news. We're mystics, not wizards, okay? So this burning bowl ceremony actually brings up to our attention all the things that we want to change. And are you here because you want to grow spiritually? Is that the deal? And you want to have a better, more rewarding life? Is that kind of it? Are we all here for that reason? Okay, good. So you came to the right place. So today, I'm going to talk about 4 different things that you can do. And I was talking to my friend Jill Carey last night about, I was kind of running this by her, and she said, tell them to write them down because they'll forget. I said, okay, yeah, that's right. I forget them myself. So if you want to take notes, there are going to be 4 things that we're going to talk about today. One of them is getting clear. The second one, ask God to help you. I had that down on number 4. Jill said, put it on number 2. Number 3 is stop telling the dang story. Yes. And number 4, and you can put dang in there or any 4-letter word that you like. And 4 is forgiveness. Okay? So I'm going to just tell an illustrating story as we go along today of the most dramatic reminder of the things that I'm trying to let go of. And there's a young man. I teach 5 classes of seniors and 1 class of juniors. The juniors are people who have not been able to pass the STAR test. They should have passed it in their freshman and sophomore year. They haven't been able to do that. And so they're having to take this 5-hour test. Yes, it's 5 hours. They're having to take this 5-hour test again. And if they don't pass it, they have to take it again. And if they don't pass that, they have to take it again. They can't graduate from high school until they take this huge, big freaking test. So everybody in the class is a little bit edgy. But there are some people in the class who really hate English. And you can't rebel against English in general, but you can rebel against a dang English teacher. So I have a kid. We'll call him Kyle. May or may not be his real name. And Kyle and I have kind of been like sandpaper all year long. He was in a class that he kind of liked. He had the real sweet, soft-spoken teacher. And then all of a sudden one day he was sent over to my class with several of his classmates. I mean, he wasn't the only one. And he just hated me on sight. Now, I'm just assuming that, right? I don't know. I don't know how he really feels, right? But I know how he acts. And he gives me a lot of personal insults, a lot of resistance to doing his assignments. He refused to put away his cell phone, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this kid. So I believe that teenagers are people, right? So people have things that are going on, you know, and I've found out things about this young man through the year. And so I know that all of his negative feelings that are coming out probably are not all because of me. And you know me, I mean, those of you who know me, they're probably not any because of me, right? Because I'm so sweet and so nice. But on Tuesday, we had a work day on Monday, and then on Tuesday, the kids came in. I had honored my intentions, and I had structured everything, and I was ready to go, and things went great. Things went great. They were in seating arrangements with people that, you know, wouldn't egg them on, and they were, you know, doing an interesting project and so forth. Tuesday, so he was actually cordial on Monday, and so was I. I mean, on Tuesday. On Wednesday, he was neutral. On Thursday, I kind of lost my focus a little bit because I had several new students come in, and so we were kind of a little bit scratchy on Thursday. On Friday, it hit the fan, and he and I had this huge conflict that left me so angry I couldn't speak. Okay, so he was standing by the door and talking on the phone to somebody about how mad I was, and I opened the door and pushed him out, slammed the door behind him. I said, "Get out." So that's my Unity story for the week. So my little learning for the week. So all right, so step one, get clear. Now, I'm not going to ask who in here is in a 12-step program, but I would like for you to tell me what person in the world do you have any chance of changing? Just yourself, exactly, just yourself. You might be able to have influence over somebody, but you have no idea if or how, okay? They've got their own stuff going on. Sometimes something gets to them, sometimes it doesn't, okay? So what I had to do was look at my part of it, okay? That's the only thing I can do. You have to be brave, because probably what you're going to see is it was kind of your fault. And we just hate that sometimes, right? In my case, I was not consistent, okay? I didn't keep people sitting, I just thought, oh man, it's too much trouble to try and get people, seated where they need to be seated, and, I'll just let this go. No. When you're a high school teacher, when you're any kind of teacher, you just can't let it go. It's the reason that it's the hardest job in the world is because you can never just let it go, okay? You have to stay in the structure or you never have any hope of doing anything. So that was one of my things, was to get the structure back. And the way that I was able to figure that out was by talking to another teacher. A teacher who has much more experience than I do, who has actually had this kid in her class before. And we talked over, what I could have done differently. So talking with somebody you trust. Meditation. A lot of you I know have gotten guidance through meditation. Just being quiet, kind of relaxing in it. You're not striving to find an answer. You're not, looking up information on the internet or any of that, the ways that we try to solve problems. Just being still and kind of looking at the situation can help. Also, writing. A lot of times when you write stuff, things will come out that you weren't thinking of originally. So get clear. Be brave. Take a look and see what it is that you can change about the situation. So, ask God to help you. Years ago, I was about 65 pounds overweight. And I was trying everything that I could think of to lose weight because I believed that it wasn't God's place to help me with that, something so minor. To me, it seemed like praying to God for a really good hairdresser. That just seemed like too small a thing. And when I was talking to Jill last night, she said, what arrogance to think that, I'm only going to pray to God about this and this and this, and all the other stuff I can handle. I'm going to pray to God about relationships and work and my kids. And everything else, I can manage. Well, if you're not managing it, it probably means you can't manage it. Okay? Just, stands to reason. And God is here for everything. God is everything. God not only knows everybody, God is everybody. Okay? God not only knows all the places, God is all the places. Okay? So whatever it is you need, God is there to help you find the solution. And you will start, same thing as the burning bowl, you will start seeing solutions that you never considered before. In my case, a person had told me years before that she would help me if I was ever ready to really do whatever needed to be done to lose weight. I had been trying for years, and this is kind of poetic. I'd been trying for 6 years. I got into a program she suggested. I lost all the weight in 6 months, 66 pounds. Look at all those sixes. I don't know what they're all about, but that's what happened. So ask God to help you. There are a couple of things. There's a song that I used to sing a lot. It's a contemporary Christian song. And the chorus is, sometimes he calms the storm, and other times he calms his child. So sometimes by asking God's help, your situation will calm down, and sometimes it'll just be you seeing things in a different way. there's also another, a prayer that we used a long time ago. I can't remember who was teaching it, maybe Linda Pendergrass. But it's a long prayer, but the lines that apply to this particular situation are, before you go to bed at night, you pray, reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. Reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. And a lot of times you'll get a dream or something will come up the next day that will make things clear. And by the way, when you talk to God about these things that you want to talk to Him about, ask for clear guidance. Jim and I always, this is my husband Jim, right up here in the front row. Jim and I always ask for clear guidance because we're both kind of head cases. You know, we think all the time. We saw a speaker one time that sort of did a pantomime of a Rubik's Cube. You know, up there in your brain, if I do this, if I do that, if I do this, if I do that, and you're just doing that all the time. You know, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, maybe this will work. So if you ask for clear guidance, then you'll see it. There'll be no way that you can't, okay? And then there's another thing I wanted to mention to you, a practical thing that you can do. It's called the connection practice, and it's, you know about this. Rita Marie Johnson, who came, did she come last year? Was it? Yeah. Last year she came and she showed us a connection, a way to connect your brain and your heart. Isn't that a great idea? Connecting your brain with your heart and getting insights that you would not normally have just from your brain or just from your heart. And so I'm going to kind of demonstrate it to you right now. You put your attention on your heart. A really good way to do that is just by putting your hand there. And then you breathe. You just start breathing slowly and deeply. And now you imagine that you're actually breathing through your heart. And now you bring up a memory that makes you feel really good. Something that makes you feel grateful is especially powerful. Some treasured memory, something that you are really thankful for. And then as you're breathing through your heart, you ask for insight. So it's very, very simple. It feels great, doesn't it? Now, number 3. So far we've had get clear, ask God to help you, and now we've come up to stop telling the dang story. Now, I have a pass on telling the dang story about Kyle because I'm, using it to teach you, right? Yeah. But what happens is something awful happens to you. Okay? Something really, really bad. Somebody wrongs you in an outrageous way. Or maybe more than one person. Maybe your whole family. And you start telling a story about that. Now, human beings are are hardwired to listen to stories. We want them. We want them. That's the whole entertainment industry is built around this tendency in social media. Man, we're like, we're taking them in as fast as we can. And so people will listen to your story. And as you tell it, you might embellish it with, more details. or you might not remember it exactly the way it was. You might have gone to therapy and your therapist said something about it that you can add to the story. And so now, instead of this one little thing, you've got this whole big narrative about not only why you are the way you are and why you do what you do, but who you are. So suddenly this story becomes part of your identity. Poor old me, I'm 58 years old. All I'm trying to do is help these kids pass this test. And I've got this one kid that just won't put down his cell phone. He doesn't want to learn anything, blah, blah, blah. But how can they expect me to do what I need to do with this rotten kid in my class? And there are other teachers who will listen to me and they'll go, oh, I had that kid. Yes, he is rotten. And they'll commiserate. What happens is that becomes part of your identity. Has anybody read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? Yeah. So what Eckhart Tolle calls that is the pain body. As you go through life, you kind of make this sort of reef around yourself, sort of accretions of wrongs that have been done to you, and grief and disappointment and all danger and all these things that your ego has put there to protect you. But now it also encases you so that you can't grow. And what happens, according to Tolle, what happens is when you access that story, or when something else happens that triggers that story, the story starts playing, and suddenly you're not you. You're not the actual you. That's the spiritual you inside you, right? I go like this because I believe that's where you are, right here. You are this painful, representation of yourself. All right? David Lynch, I heard was that on Sunday morning last week? David Lynch, the director who does those really incredible movies and TV shows, he's also a big teacher of transcendental meditation. And what he calls the pain body is the big rubber clown suit. Isn't that good? It's clumsy, it's stuffy, it's stupid looking, and it's not, above all, not what you want to be, right? You don't want to be walking around in a big rubber clown suit. So when you stop telling the story, you can, these are my suggestions, okay? These may be stories that you've told many times and you treasure them and take them out and pet them every now and then. You're naturally going to be reluctant to let them go. Okay, so Jill had a really good suggestion, and that was to write the story down in the third person. So in other words, for those of you who didn't do well in English in high school, instead of saying, I know there's some of you out there, I'm not naive. Instead of saying, I did this, and he did that, and I did this, and he did that, Lissie forgot that she was going to be consistent. And so that day, Kyle, being a kid, and just by saying it, by writing it down in the third person, it removes it once from you. So it's still a story, but it's not necessarily the story of you. Okay? Another way you can do it is, this is my favorite way to do it. My husband and I talk for a long time on Saturday morning. That's one of our little rituals we do. And I just tell it as the best way I can, with all the feeling, and I use my hands, and I do vocal impressions, and facial expressions and all kinds of characters. I'm different characters, you know. So you can tell it really, really well one last time. And then you're done. Okay? Because whatever it is that you're using that story for is not serving you. Any story where as you tell the story, those emotions come up, any story that makes you feel sad, depressed, powerless, clueless, any of those stories, they don't help you. They really don't help you, because what you really want to be is strong, a healer, effective, fearless, creative, right? Okay. So those little me stories are not serving you anymore. All right. So that's number 3. Stop telling the dang story. Now, number 4 is forgiveness. So we've done clarity, ask God for help, stop telling the dang story, and now forgiveness. Forgiveness is the big F. Okay? It really is not only essential, but also one of the most difficult things that we can do, right? And the reason is we hold many beliefs about forgiveness that are not necessarily true. One of the beliefs that we have is that if you forgive somebody for doing that horrible thing to you, whatever it was, they're getting away with it. Now, let me tell you, in one sense, they already got away with it. Right? They did it already. And in another sense, it's not theirs. You know, it's not in any way can you change that person by hanging on to that feeling of resentment. Resentment is a burden, and what you're doing by holding on to that resentment is you are keeping your energy flowing towards the resentment. And once you have energy flowing that way, it can't be flowing that way. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing is, the other fallacy is, by forgiving someone, you'll invite more abuse. Okay? So in some way, you'll be a fool. Now, you get to choose today the people that you'll see, the people that you will associate with, the way that you will handle situations. That's your power. Your power is you get to be exactly who you are, and you get to handle situations exactly the way you want to, no matter what's ever happened to you. Okay? You are the chooser. You got it? It's really true. You are the chooser. And whenever you get into a situation that looks like it's going to be dangerous to you, you get to choose to get out of it. Even if it's at your job. Right? Your job is not your source. A certain person is not your source. God is your source. And at all times, you get to choose what your experience of life is going to be. Okay? So those are the fallacies. They're not getting away with anything any more than they already have. And you're not going to be inviting more abuse. What you're going to be doing is freeing yourself of a burden. Okay? And you're going to be redirecting a whole bunch of energy. You will just be amazed at how much energy you're going to release. Now, I'm going to tell I'm going to tell a story on myself. Because you're part of the ending of the story. So I worked on forgiveness for, oh my gosh. My mom and I had a really bad time when I was a teenager. And we were just practically at each other's throats many times. And so I finally got to where, when Marilyn was born, it seemed important that she know her grandmother and that I not influence the way she felt about her. And so what I did was I stopped telling the stories, blah, 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 did all this stuff. And one time, before, every time we visited my mom, I ended up walking out of the room in tears. Every time. And one time we went to visit with the little baby, and gosh, everything was great. You know, I mean, we had a really good time. We watched movies and did all kinds of things that we like to do. The baby had a good time, and my mom had a good time. And afterwards, I said to Jim, you know, it's just amazing how much Mom has changed since the baby was born. And Jim said to me, she didn't do anything differently. She was just exactly the way she always is. So you see, by my letting go of that, and everything that I've done since then, I kind of give to that, you know, feeling of number one, not having to please her, and number two, just not considering her as kind of the determiner of who I am, you know? I want to finish up with a wonderful prayer that I used for years and years, and I'm going to start using it again. In fact, today I'm going to start using it. I've come to believe that this might be just exactly the thing I need for the Kyle situation. So here's the prayer. It's from Hypatia Hasbrook's Handbook of Positive Prayer. And if you wouldn't mind, find a partner and kind of, we'll practice saying this to each other. So you want to partner up? We call this a pair share. Does anybody need a partner? Jackie well, come here and do it with me, Jackie. Okay. All right, here we go. So repeat after me while looking into each other's eyes. There is nothing between us but the love of God.
There is nothing between us but the love of God.
Freely and fully I release all thoughts.
Freely and fully I release all thoughts
of hurt, anger, or resentment.
of hurt, anger, or resentment.
We are at peace, you and I.
We are at peace, you and I,
one in the love of God.
one in the love of God.
Aw. Thank you. Isn't that sweet? So I'll leave that. You want me to say it again? Okay. So I'll leave it up here if you want. No, I'll leave it on the back table if you want to make a copy of it. And seriously, especially if you're new to Unity, this Hypatia Hasbrook Handbook of Positive Prayer is one of those books you should have. The other ones are Emily Cady's Lessons in Truth and Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics. Yeah. But this one will help you. She has, all different situations and prayers for each one. Yeah. So this week, I invite you to aid the elimination process. We're using the power of elimination to get rid of all of the CRAP in our lives. And we're going to get clear. We're going to ask God to help us. We're going to stop telling the dang story, and we're going to forgive, right? Yay us. Thank you very much. And now, Billy will get us ready for our meditation time. So let's do that, that connection practice one more time. Put your attention on your heart. Let your breath be even. And now imagine that you're actually breathing through your heart. And now bring to mind a place that you love, a treasured memory, or something that puts you in a feeling of gratitude. And let's just sit in this moment, in the silence, feeling this feeling of being completely connected. Thank you, God. Thank you.